Welcome back to the map of champions for another casted game. Today we're on Lipany with some Conqueror level action. On the north side in the green we have Jeanne as JD, who is currently going out to do some construction, and on the south side or the west side in the yellow we have Friends and Viz as the Malians. Let's take a little look at their scouting path and we can take a look at this. So we're on Lipany. As you all know, this is my absolute favorite map. You never know quite what you're going to get, so scouting is always going to be super important. So it looks like our green friend Jeanne is going round the outside to try and get some of those sheep, which can often be quite good if the other player tends to go in the opposite direction. So at the moment only 4. We'll see whether that pays off for them as the game goes on. If we take a little look over at Friends, oh dear, he's now following the scout and he doesn't know. Oh, that's such a shame. So he's actually got more already, but he's going to be following that scout all the way around now. So unless he cuts across and gets this dark patch in the center, then I think he's going to be in a little bit of bother for those sheep. But as the Malians, we all know food isn't always an issue because they can do the classic cow boom. We've got a nice safe pit at the back, and let's do a bit of pit watch. So as the Malians, obviously knowing where your gold veins are is going to be of vital importance because that's where you get all of your passive income, as we see all those houses going up, which is going to be maximizing that gold per minute. So over here we can see, oh dear, oh, what a bad spawn. Oh no. So this one, actually, you're not going to be able to put any buildings down this side because the trees block it. So that's not exactly an ideal spot. Easy to wall in, so you could wall that in relatively easily and it's kind of hidden, but that's not ideal. And then the other one you have is very forward. So this doesn't look too good in terms of the spawn for Friends and Viz. Whereas if we go over to JD's side, she's having the absolute best time because look at this spawn. Double deer and berries at the back, which you can wall in with just a tiny short wall over here. That is an absolutely fantastic spawn, and if we see a second TC and it doesn't go right here in the center of these, then I'm going to be a very sad man. Now also, if we look at the market spawns, this is pretty good for trading. So Malians did get a buff to their trade landmark, so the one that gives you the javelin emplacement, so we might be seeing a cheeky bit of that as well. And as I mention it, we do see the Saharan trade network, and if we look at this area, this aura is what also increases the toll. So actually if he does decide to go trade, then he can do it along the back and that's going to hit it really nicely. So potentially going to be a slightly different Malian play this time, which I always love to see. Obviously on the JD side we've got Her Majesty building up this school of cavalry, as you would expect. No JD cock in this match, unfortunately, but looking at the spawn actually is really not that great for them. It's slightly closer to the center than the other one, and to get the most value you'd have to either build another market and redirect them. So I think in this case going for knights is pretty good. But against the Malians, they do have donzos, so you do kind of have to be quite careful with protecting those knights. Now I have been noticing, as I've been watching loads of streams, so on AoE Full World, if you don't know about it, you've got to go and check it out. There's a section called Watch. You can put in the civilizations you want to watch and the level of the players, and then you can watch back people's streams on Twitch, which is amazing. So I tend to do that all of the time, and I've been noticing a lot more Malian players. So I think the changes to these landmarks and to the Farimba has kind of reinvigorated the desire to play Malians. I was almost tempted, and then I realized I have no time to play, so I'm just going to be sticking with Abbasid. So at the moment we've got the both players aging up as it is, and it sounds like to me that my sound has gone, so I can't actually hear any of the game audio now, which is absolutely fantastic. Let's see if I can figure out what's going on with that. So okay. Well, it looks like the audio is still working for you, so I'm going to have to check this later. I think my headphones have just died, but we can deal with that a little bit later. As we can see over here, we've got the first knight coming in, chasing all of those sheep, trying to stop them from getting home, whether he's going to use his charge on some of that the poor lamb there, the poor mutton. He is, oh dear, trying to take one of those guys out. There we go, denying that food. That's what you want to see. But yeah, so this is, I think, going to be really interesting. We can already see some upgrades coming in, and we've got a barracks coming down for those Donzos, which when you're against the Knights is exactly what you want to be doing. The Knights obviously are going to try and harass, and they do now get the upgrade, so these shots are going to actually be slightly better because the javelin throws are just a higher base damage, so they should actually be quite good, which means this pit mine is actually going to be very nice and protected. So this is going to be interesting. Now, how the economy will grow for Friends is going to be quite interesting because of where those pit mine placements are. But as I mentioned before, JD's already moved out onto the deer. We should already be seeing survival techniques, and we've got wheelbarrow. And obviously, as a French variant, all of these eco techs are actually reduced in cost. So this is going to work really well. I'd love to see the scout come and push all of these guys in, but we'll have to wait for that a little bit later. Now, JD has aged up and gone for the hunter level. Where is she? Is she hiding somewhere? Is she at home? Is she on holiday? There she is, the big yellow one. There we go. So gone for the hunter one, which I'm not sure whether I prefer this. I don't know if this is actually the better one. I think the men-at-arms one is pretty good, but then obviously then Friends could just make the Musafadi, so potentially not the best. But as we can kind of see, we do have javelins coming in, and now as she is light ranged infantry, they're going to do bonus damage, so I don't think she's going to be having the best time unless she can dodge those javelins very, very effectively. Now, if we take a look here, we've got the Donzos running over to the base. Oh, and a javelin getting caught out on the backside, so it looks like Friends is being a much more aggressive Malian player than we're used to seeing. Normally you see Malian players sit in their base, they don't like making military. It's a bit like the Japanese fast castle. They just want to boom and boom and boom, and they don't want to make military. But here we can see a nice load of units, and these Donzos are pretty incredible. Like, look at those models. They're just I just think they're pretty amazing, and I love the fact that they can throw. So like that, it's not a huge amount, but you can see that's taken off a really good chunk there, and that knight then getting pierced, and then eventually when it comes in they can get another shot off. So I think that's going to work really, really well. We've got some more javelins coming out, so the military numbers for Friends at this stage looking very, very nice indeed. Regrouping at the front of the base and getting another knight. Look at that shot from those Donzos. And this is where Malians at a higher level is all about the micro, because javelins can start to overkill very, very easily. The Donzos have that ability to throw, so you really need to be able to utilize that to the max. So we can see here that Friends is chasing them down, and look at that. JD's health is going down very, very quickly, but she does have the Divine Restoration, which is going to give 30% back, and she does also heal over time. So if she regroups with her knights, they should all be able to get a nice good heal boost. So I'd hope to see that we're going to use that ability soon, and then it would refresh pretty quickly. But we can see the knight numbers starting to increase on JD's side, and yeah, just loads of villagers loving the deer over here. Whereas if we take a look, we can see we got walls going across, and we've got a market, so we're going to be seeing some Malian trade. This is really interesting. And if we take a little look at these toll outposts, one of the special buildings for the Malians, they offer the usual site. You now, because of the upgrade, they have the upgrade for the javelin emplacements, which are really good, and they get an additional 8% based on how many toll outposts the traders go past. So you normally see a couple of them lining the route, and then that's going to allow them to get even more resources. So we should see some traders popping up into the queue any second, and that's going to start getting that gold income really, really cooking. And this map spawn actually has worked really well, because these woodlines and cliffs have meant that half the map is quite easy to wall, and then here just a little short wall by that gold vein, or maybe around the stone, and that's going to mean that the only exposed part is in the base here where the military can regroup. But as we say that, we can see that Friends is going in for a big push, going for JD. Oh, and going to get the hit. See, look at that javelin damage. That's insane. So now JD is down, and that's a lot of value lost. The tower getting targeted just to make sure that they've got no defenses on that deer, and the javelin's going to get caught. Oh, villager going down. Look at that, one-shotting a villager there. So this is where 8 javelins really does make a huge difference. And if you played against the Byzantines, once they've got 8 of those javelins from 2 of those contracts that they get, they really do pack a punch, so you've got to be really careful. Now, if we take a little goosey gander, we can see that chivalry has come in, so the knights should be healing up. If I remember correctly. There we go. So slowly healing up as we go. So they're going to be trying to keep all of these alive, because that's where JD and French get their power, is where they can keep the knights alive and slowly build them and then build more archers. The problem's going to be building archers against javelins. You've got the auto counter. In this one, I think JD's going to be in a little bit of trouble unless they can get a mass, because Malians are known for being able to mass up units very quickly. Like, look at this army. Obviously also in the yellow, my favourite colour, so we know which side I'm rooting for at the moment. Look at these yellow guys running around. I love it. And as we can see here, we should be seeing, there we go, some towers being placed, those toll outposts to try and get the income up. But 66 per run is actually not too bad at this stage of the game. So in the center we can see JD getting caught out again by the javelins, and dear, she's taken out again. And this is where, when you play against JD, you will see everyone targeting her, because if she's down, if she's not out on the field, she's not getting experience, and if she can't get up to that level 3 or level 4, then the bonus that you get from her is much more limited. The knights trying to break down that wall and then realizing that the Malians are about to push the base, and so this is where we're going to see a load of damage. Another villager going down, archers trying to do some, but what are they going to do against all those javelins? The ranged armor on these guys, they can sit under the TC and they're really not that worried about it. Knight coming over, but yeah, against all those donzos, I'd run away too, mate. I wouldn't be heading over there for that fight. So this is really interesting. We can see moving out onto the food. If we take a little look over at the Malian base, we don't actually see any cows yet, which normally at this stage you would. So we can see that some of the deer has been taken. We're taking the sheep over here, but there's actually no cow boom whatsoever. The wall's going across and the knights just sneaking in. Oh, that's so cheeky. Look at that. So there's 2 of those in there, going to try and do some damage to the trade, as the night ball catches a javelin out unawares on the top side. So here we go. So these knights not actually hitting the traders. There we go. So they've noticed them and they are going to be going for that. We can see we've got a lot of villagers moving out onto gold, so we might be looking at a bit of a castle age shift here from friends, and the knights going for those houses. That's really not what you want to be doing. They need to be stopping that trade, because with the trade and the pit, the income from this, that's where they're going to be getting all of that eco. Now a big fight coming up in the center here. The knights trying to pull back to ignore the brace, but getting caught on those donzos. Javelins taking the archers, and this is a huge fight for friends again. We can see all of the corpses of those knights just laying there on the battlefield, archers being taken out, and the donzo numbers looking very, very healthy. Against a knight civ like this, if you can keep your spears alive, then you're in a really good spot, and because they've all got that throw ability, then that's really going to be helping them out a lot. We can see some defensive walls come up here as well, only just on the one side so they can protect this deer, which is slowly and surely being used up. The gold being mined very heavily, so it looks like Zhui's trying to go for a slow castle age with making units behind. So yeah, not sure if that's the plan. And what's this wall? Now, I'm sure everybody knows that's not closed. So although it's a choke point, why would you not just build it on this side of the tower? Because the gold actually does function as a stopping point. Maybe that's just me. I just like my walls to actually block things, but you know, what can you say? So here we go. So if we take a little look at JD, can we see her level as we switch over? So where is she? There she is. So we can't see her level unless we dip out of the UI, and if we do that, it's going to bug everything out. So we can see she hasn't quite leveled up yet, so she needs to get some more experience, and that's why she's going to be trying to push some of these fights. Chivalry shining and making all of these knights come back to life with vigor. But as we can see from the Malian troops on this side, we've got a lot of them, but this little rotation, it might catch JD out. If they can get on the back and get her again from there with the javelins, that's going to be a really sticky spot for the Jeanne d'Arc. And the walls are coming up all on the front, so there's going to be nowhere they can get any damage as well. So this is where, but if they dive the base, oh no, the knight's going to give it away. Oh dear, that's such a shame. So that knight is actually a couple of villagers getting caught out. Apart from that, 15 XP for JD there, and the units circling back. So now it's going to be a full assault, a knight getting taken out by the javelin throws, and this is where it's going to be full clash. Knights trying to get around the Donzos, but nice bit of micro there from Friends, keeping them on top. And this is you can see what Friends knows what he's doing, keeping the spears and the javs on the same patch, so the knights can't get on top of them and they can focus fire. So the javelins are getting all of those archers, and the Donzos are forcing the knights around and doing a huge amount of damage. Look at those knights just absolutely melt to those spears, and having to do a tactical retreat, which for Zhui I think is definitely the right play. If we see now, we've got a huge amount of gold building up for Friends. If we take a look over at his, we got 2 markets trading. We're up to 9 traders so far, and we've got 1 outpost, 2. We've got the landmark that counts as 3, and that's it. So just 3 toll outposts at the moment, and moving over to the other wood line. And this, I think, is a good choice because you want to keep this wood line as part of your wall as well, so you don't want to waste that. So yeah, always moving and trying to keep those front walls as defensive emplacements, I think, is always a good move personally. But you know, what do I know from my plat perspective? If we take a look over at JD, looks like Zhui's changed their mind, and they're going to be also, they've spent a lot of their resources to try and get more units because they are severely behind, and JD is back on the field. So potentially they've been buying JD back, because at the TC you can actually, I think this one, yeah, 250, and you can return JD to the field. So every time they're doing that, Friends is actually costing Zhui 250, or JD isn't getting the upgrades or isn't getting the levels. So at this stage of the game, 16 minutes in, you as JD, you'd really be hoping to be very close to the next level. But we can see that they're going for a cheeky play, trying to get the knights around to do some damage. But as we can see, oh, this is a bit risky from Friends, going out exposed onto the berries here, going out to these open resources. I'd love to see them using these ones at the back, but also we've got a sneaky pit on the side as well with some onion walls going on, which I think is always a nice little play. So we've got 2 safe berry packs here, so it looks like Friends has decided to go for the exposed one, and if they're pushed they can just move back and head over to these safe ones at the back. So this is now a really interesting thing. We've got some farms, we don't have a cow boom, and that's actually allowing them to just get tons and tons of units out while slowly building their economy. So we can see the archer mass in the center, the knight mass at the side, but I think they're going to give their position away. Yeah, and they haven't seen the villagers. There we go. Friends getting that instantly as soon as that notification came in, shifting away very, very quickly to make sure they can't do damage. And the Malian troops are going for the surround. So we've got all of these guys, Javs and Donzos on the back. We've got another set going on the inside, and they're going to be able to do a nice little pinch maneuver, which I think is very, very nice. So you can see, look at those guys, those knights coming down, going to be trying to go for the trade, and then they're going to get caught on the inside as well, and they've got nowhere to go. They retreat, and they're going to get caught by all of those other units as well. So this is another big pickup there for Friends, catching them out and using the villagers to move around, trying to get past them. There we go, saving them from the knight invasion and rebuilding that wall very, very quickly, and blocking in the troops. So not maybe building up that wall just a little bit too fast. But if we take a look now, we've got the knights regrouping, and we've got JD was moving over to the ball. And there we go, trying to get some more XP anywhere they can on the map. So using all of the archers to do it, 25 XP there, and the boar is down. So I think Zhui knows now that they've got to do everything they can to try and get up, because whether they know it or not, we're going to be seeing Farimba. So the Farimba garrison now has been changed in Season 9. So you'll see 3 options for units, and I'm really interested to see what Friends go for. We've got the Freeborn, which are basically like melee javelin throwers. They have ranged armor, and they basically do extra damage against ranged units. Then you've got the javelin throwers, which get poison damage, and you have the special Musafadi that I think get extra armor, or they're basically just tanky Musafadis. So I would expect we're probably going to see the Freeborn. But I would be interested to see. So you get 1 in castle, and then when you get to Imperial you get another one. So we're going for the javelins, and I think after the pup in the change, what's going to happen is now all of the javs that we have can actually be upgraded, so all of these ones should actually convert into that. So now we've got 27 javelin throwers that have poison damage. Now that is going to be insane against the knights and against the ranged units, so this mass is now looking even scarier than it did before. So especially with the overkill on the javelins, now they're going to actually be able to target knights, so I think this is going to be a very dangerous situation if Zhui isn't able to build up some military. Some nice defensive walls going up on Zhui's side. Again, I'm not sure why you... Yeah, I think we definitely just want to see one at the front, and this is the risk here. See, there we go, we've had a chop through, so now you've got to build another set of walls to keep it safe. So shifting from this wood line to this one probably would have been a good shout, just like Friends did earlier, so I think that's a good one to do. Now JD is regrouping over here, huge archer mass and knight mass there, and seen the age up and clearly doing the chase, just getting enough resources, and we're going for the Royal Institute. With this number of knights, I think that's definitely the right call, but we can see Friends is taking advantage of the Malian bonus that you get all of your upgrades faster, and going for all those Castle Age upgrades to get the eco pumping even more. If we take a look over at the income per minute, it's going to be a little bit lower for Zhui as they age up, but the big Malian push is incoming. Look at these guys now. We want to see how much damage the javelins can do. Oh, and they've got purple on the arrows. Oh, that's amazing. So the if you know the poison archers, they shoot purple arrows. Look at those. That's just amazing. Obviously, they could one-shot villagers anyway. And this is where you should notice that as Friends is a higher level player, you can see that these are shooting in two different groups, so they're not all targeting the same person all the time, because that's going to limit how much they can do damage wise, because they can overkill. So you'll probably see two different groups of these firing, or smaller groups of these firing off, and they're going to do even more. So you can see now that all of these are marked as purple, and they're going to be taking extra damage. Donzo's in the base now, charging towards the knights, but the javelin throwers are still doing a huge amount against these knights as well, and that is a massive hit. Look at all of those knights just melting. Donzo's now getting on top of the archers as well, and the javelins targeting JD, who's just leveled up, but she's poisoned and she is down. Villagers running around in the mix, trying to distract or trying to go somewhere else. They've bought JD again, and she's just garrisoned in the TC to try and save her, but I think she also went down. Oh no, she garrisoned in the TC and then she went down because of the poison. Oh, that's amazing. But for Friends, obviously it's not amazing for Zhui. But we can see now the javelins taking out all of these archers, the Malian force is looking extremely strong, and the whole JD force has just been taken out. And look at the amount of guys that are left after that engagement. It was very similar numbers, and we can see now that it's 56 units to 2, and that's going to be GG. What an amazing match. A great use of trade and the Farimba to keep the eco pumping for the Malians.